So this is the lip sync for Chilimonos. This is the basic tongue and inner mouth. These are the teeth shapes that go on top of those. You can see the top teeth, which are basically this, and the bottom teeth, which are underneath. This is actually would be laid this way. This is the top of the mouth. This is the bottom of the mouth. So in essence, I'm taking what you see here and turning it upside down right now. So this is the bottom, the upside down part, and these are the two pieces of teeth that go into here. I want to show you briefly, once you've packed flesh all around it and created a neck. Again, the neck is sort of the shock absorber for the bottom jaw, and the top of the teeth are roughly, at the top of the mouth, roughly stays more flat, even though it's not completely flat because things do move, but it's attached to the upper part of the skull. The big thing I wanted to show was timing. Once you've packed it with exterior negative color to support the mouth shapes, I want to see these two little marks I've made, right here and right here. These marks represent the, actually I think it's this way. This is the beginning of the C in Chile, and then this is the beginning of the monos. It's been, you notice that this is the end, this is where monos ends on our timing sheet. However, this mark shows where it ends in the actual creation. It's been very, very stretched out. This happens all the time because clay is soft. Clay, as you work it, tends to want to ooze in certain directions. So even as careful as I was at trying to get, in a sense, this beginning shape to fit, I ended up with something a little longer once I got it into the mouth, and then a little longer still once I worked it around, once I got the lips on, the lips on it. A little longer still when I got the flesh on it. There's two ways to address this problem. One is I could work hard to pound the two pieces together. Like I could actually try to force these two by pushing this down and putting pressure on it from above, reversing it, putting pressure on it again. The key to this is to actually move little by little through the block, up and down. Try to pull everything down with it just a little bit, so everything is moving in unison. You don't want to be moving just a little, distorting one part or the other. You can already see that that's it's not much. It's not much. So one other way, the second solution to this, since this hasn't moved very much, it would take a lot of process for me to actually bunch this back up so it corresponded to the slices that have been laid down on the marking points, these numbers down here, is to just to go ahead and say, all right, this starts at frame 5 and it ends at frame 44. If this is frame 5, this is frame 44, what I'm going to need to do is now divide back this amount of slices and make sure that this is 39 slices long, and disregard the cue sheet and just make sure that my slicing makes it 39 frames between this mark and this mark. And that's another way to get the lip sync back into sync. The key is just to keep it in mind, be careful, and you can solve it either direction. Either by being super careful that you keep the interior working, and as you work it each time, as you add each element like this to it, and you push it around, that you keep it exactly to this length. And if you can't do that, then your best option, and you can't fix it once it's longer, your best option is to recalibrate the numbers. Another thing you could do is rescan the sheet, expand it in Photoshop, and recreate your sheet so now it's a little bit longer. So you would line the frame 5 and frame 44 up with this new length. You just measure out what this is, expand it out in Photoshop, reprint it, and that would be a way to catch up. So you'd make sure that you were keeping your lip sync proper. Anyway, I wanted to point out these marks. You always have to keep them everywhere along when you're doing something that's actually frame sensitive, when you're actually trying to work to a music track or to a lip sync track. Always keep your marks, because if I were to then cover this up without having these marks, or if I cover these marks up with nose and an eyes, I will lose them and I won't know where is what. So if I were to put something on top of this, I would want to make new marks in clay that I could still see, perhaps on the neck, and make sure that I maintain a visible cue mark that lets me know, buried inside the block, approximately where the lip sync that's inside it is going on. So this is the bridge point between the m, Chilimonos, and this is the Chilimonos to that side. And this is a smile at the end. Of course, it's cleaner when you cut it. You can see it pretty well when it's cut. These tongue and groove joints go together. Often, if I get really long blocks of material, I won't try to keep them together if they're this fragile. I'll actually keep them separate, and just right before I set them down to shoot them on a set, I'll glue them back together or shove them back together, and that's called a dovetail joint, or you know, a sculpted joint. It allows parts that otherwise don't seem, you know, wouldn't. It allows you to work with it in smaller units. You sort of, this is like a train car and another train car, and you build these units so each piece dovetails into the next piece. And this way you can work in smaller pieces and build up a very, very long stretch of clay. It's animating.